The next creation account is the 25th variant. After suggesting that we were made from a blood clot in the first surah, then sperm, base fluid, stinking slime, and clay, we learn,
Quran 24, verse 45, Allah has created every animal from water. Of them there are some that creep on their bellies, some that walk on 2 legs, and some that walk on 4. Verse 46, we have indeed sent down proofs and signs that make things manifest,
and sent
revelations, and explained them.
It was time for Muhammad's rock idol to denounce his critics, the bad Muslims who were abandoning him in droves.
Quran 24:47. They say, we believe in Allah and in the Messenger, and we obey, but even after that some of them will turn away. They are not really believers. When they are summoned to Allah and His Messenger in order that He might judge between them, behold, some of them decline to come and are averse. But if right is on their side, they come quickly to Him in submission, obedient.
Sometimes the smallest details reveal the biggest flaws. The letter H in him wasn't capitalized, which means him was Muhammad. Therefore, the doctrine of submission was all about obedience to a man.
Quran 24:50. Is there a disease in their hearts? Do they have doubts? Do they, in fear that Allah and His Messenger will deal unjustly, acting wrongly toward them?
Now, what would give the citizens of Medina that impression? Just because Muhammad had assassinated journalists, led scores of terrorist raids, motivated militants with booty, murdered thousands in cold blood, raped women, stole property, and sold children into slavery, doesn't mean that he couldn't be trusted, did it? Muhammad devised a test, a way of distinguishing between the good and bad Muslims.
Quran 24:51. The only response of the true believers when summoned to Allah and His Messenger in order to judge between them is no other way than this. They say, we hear and obey. Such are successful. Those who obey Allah and His Messenger, fear Allah and do right, such are the victorious. Whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger fears Allah and keeps His duty.
Since there isn't a single verse that suggests Allah ever spoke to His believers, Muslims must hear and obey Muhammad. Thus, a good Muslim is one who obeys His commands to do things like conduct terrorist raids, engage in fighting and genocide, prosper using the slave trade, steal what belongs to others through conquest, always giving the Prophet his fifth. Such behavior makes good Muslims bad people. I recognize that this is unflattering, but it's Islam's definition, not mine. And lest we forget, we have been given a slightly expanded version of the dictatorial dogma first preached in Mecca.
He who fears will mind.
This time it's,
whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger fears Allah and keeps his duty.
Muhammad, frustrated by the peaceful Muslims who were unwilling to leave their homes to fight for him, said,
in Quran 24:53, they swear their strongest oaths, saying that if only you would command them.
In other words, what Muhammad wanted was for them to go out fighting while he stayed home.
They would leave their homes and go forth fighting in Allah's cause. Say, swear not, obedience is more reasonable. Say, obey Allah and obey the Messenger.
Obedience is, once again, to Muhammad, and the required behavior is jihad. Muhammad now says on behalf of Allah that if you follow him into battle, the earth and its people will be yours. There is nothing like a good bribe to motivate mercenaries. Allah pledged to make Muslims
rulers of the earth.
So He revealed in Quran 24:55.
Allah has promised to those among you who believe and do good that He will make them rulers of the earth as He granted it to those before them. He will establish in authority their religion, the one which He has chosen for them.
There is choice in Islam, only sadly it does not belong to people. To be a Muslim, all you have to do is perform rituals, pay taxes, and obey Mohammed. Koran 24:56 says so.
Perform prayer, pay the zakat, and obey the messenger.
In this verse, Mohammed dispenses with Allah because all he wanted was obedience and money.
Koran 24:57. Never think that the unbelievers can escape in the land. Their abode is fire.
There is no escaping Islam, which is why it must be exterminated. While the transition to this next verse is unbelievable, the Prophet's desire to nap nude with his harem becomes the only possible rationale for this being in the Quran.
Koran 24:58. Believers, let your slave girls and those who have not come to puberty ask permission before they come into your presence, on 3 occasions, before dawn, while you take off your clothes at midday, and after the night prayer. These are the times of undress, times of privacy for you. Outside these times it is not wrong for them to move about. Thus does Allah make clear the signs.
Good grief. Returning to the theme of submit and obey, we find in the 62nd verse,
Only those who are believers in Allah and His Messenger, who, when they are with Him on a matter requiring collective action,
like fighting,
do not depart until they have asked for His permission. Deem not the summons of the messenger like the summons of one of you. Allah knows those who slip away, making excuses. Beware of rejecting the messenger's order, lest a grievous penalty be inflicted.
Since Muhammad was dead, before the Quran became a book, why was this verse included? It ceased to be relevant the moment he died. Muslims could dish it out, but they couldn't take it. One was overcome with rage after being satirized in a poem.
Ishaq. Sawan smote Hassan with his sword and tied his hands to his neck.
When Muhammad asked why, he explained,
He insulted and satirized me, and I became enraged, so I smote him. The apostle said, Hassan, did you look on my people with an evil eye because Allah has guided them to Islam?
Without benefit of an answer, the Prophet told the shackled and beaten pagan to forget what the Muslim had done. Then we're told that he offered him a bribe.
Ishaq. The apostle provided some compensation that included a castle, some property, a portion of the zakat tax, and a Copt slave girl.
This leads us to the haunting betrayal at Hudaybiyan.
Tabari and Ishaq. The Prophet set out to make the lesser pilgrimage, not intending to make war. He had asked the Arabs and Bedouin desert dwellers who were around him to help by setting out with him, for he feared that the Quraysh would oppose him with fighting or turn away from Allah's house. Many Bedouins were slow in coming to him, so the messenger sent out with the Emigrants and Ansar. He took sacrificial animals with him and put on the pilgrim garb.
The Quran hasn't bothered to describe the pilgrimage, the use of sacrificial animals, or special garb. That's because Arabs already knew about these things. They were part of their prior pagan lore. Islam simply incorporated old rites into its new religion.